Okay. Just 1 minute. And it's Champoux, right?
It is, yeah.
Hey friends, I am with my friend Jenny Champoux, and she is many things. Art historian,
Champoux, right?
also director of the Book of Mormon art catalog. And can you just tell us briefly what that project is?
Oh, sure. Thanks for having me, Becca. It's so good to see you.
Yes, sorry, we're having a little tech issue. Just 1 sec.
No problem.
Ooh, sorry, everybody. Let's see briefly what that project is. You guys, I'm sorry, we're having some feedback.
So good to see you.
Yes, sorry, okay. Jenny, we're here. I'm sorry. I had a window open that was not allowed. Okay, let's start afresh. Can you tell us about your project? I love this project.
Thank you, Becca. And again, thank you again for having me. It's so good to see you again. So the Book of Mormon Art Catalog is an online open access digital database of all Book of Mormon art. So going back to the very earliest in the 1870s up until things that are happening right now. And we have over 3,000 images in there, which is more, I mean, maybe more than you might expect, because we tend to see the same Book of Mormon art kind of recycled over and over. But there's so much out there, and it's really exciting. And the project's funded by the Maxwell Institute at BYU, and I'm the director. And yeah, check it out, bookofmormonartcatalog.org.
Fantastic. I am so proud to just know you and have you as a friend. And I just love seeing you move forward on this really great project. So way to go, Jenny.
Thank you.
The great memories I have of Jenny were on our shared experience on study abroad. And I remember this so vividly. All of us were taking pictures of the same thing, a group of girls in front of some landmark. And then Jenny was over somewhere taking pictures. And then we finally got together and looked at each other's pictures. And Jenny's photos were gorgeous. And I was like, why did I not like take any details or any different angles? So Jenny was doing beautiful photography all through Europe and captured it in a way that I really admired. Anyway, you have an eye for beautiful things and a brilliant brain for art history.
Oh, thanks, Becca. That's so kind of you to say. That trip was so fun, and it's been a number of years now since we did that.
I know.
And there were a lot of, everyone had a lot of great photos. It's hard to take bad photos, and
that's right. Yeah, that's right.
In the south of France, and yeah. One of my memories is on a train in Europe with you, and I pulled my bag off the top of the luggage compartment, and I hit your head, and I still I felt so bad. I still remember how bad I felt. I hope you're still okay.
I have no memory of that. And I don't know if that's because of the bag or just it was very inconsequential. So okay. All is forgiven. I'm glad we've had this chance to talk. Yes. Anyway, let's get to our mystery objects. So I have 2 objects that one I've chosen, one Jenny has chosen. And I do this because I feel like it's a great way for us to share how we approach objects we don't know. And for us to maybe share our thinking strategy of what it's like to see something we don't know and do our best to make it meaningful. Because this is probably the most common thing I see among people who don't have a lot of art history background is feeling pretty confused and helpless as far as how to make any object meaningful. So that's my ultimate goal. So I will go first. And let's see what Jenny brought for us today. Oh, okay. This is fun. We have, it looks like it's a work on paper. Mm-hmm. And we have kind of maybe a little damage to the paper, but something with a border here and a landscape, but really all the action is these figures in the foreground. Yeah. And wow, they are in action. There is some tumult happening here. Lots of really energetic diagonal lines, lots of weapons in hands. And I love how the artist, we've got some like muted pastel colors, what earth tones. And then in the middle, we have this woman, arms outstretched. She's kind of, our eyes are just drawn to her. And she is bravely holding people back. Okay. And then there's this little fellow behind. And he's looking out. He looks like his hands are tied. And then an old woman who's facing off with this strong fellow. Okay. Okay. So to me, this style feels a little bit illustrative. Like, definitely drawn over painted. I'm not exactly sure because the landscape looks pretty like atmospheric, like it looks kind of smudgy. So that's what I see.
Do you want me to jump in?
Well, let me just take a stab. I don't know anything about this. If I were to guess, I would think this is like maybe 18th century. I don't know. 19th century?
Yeah, 19th century, yeah.
Okay. And okay. I mean, it kind of has like this neoclassical vibe.
Mm-hmm. Good.
And so is this like a story from ancient times? Like to me, it feels like maybe like an Old Testament story that's been revived, or it feels a little bit biblical.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't know. Jenny, you got to help me out. I don't know a lot about this.
Becca, you did great with this. I love how you notice the strong diagonals that create that sense of drama and movement. That was great. And then the woman in white and red definitely is emphasized with her colors. You pointed that out. And also those diagonal lines of her arms and the swords that lead us to her figure, lead our eye to her. So beautifully done on that. I also,
thank you.
Yes, I love that you noted the atmospheric feeling of the landscape and the sky. And it's definitely symbolic here, right? Kind of this foreboding, cloudy sky and a dead tree right behind them. This like branches going up to the sky. So this is a lithograph from the 1870s. Oh, I'm sorry, 1890s is what I meant to say. 1890s. It is a Book of Mormon scene. So you were right that it is a kind of a sort of in the vein of traditional kinds of neoclassical, history paintings or illustration, the Bible illustrations, kind of in that same genre. And this comes from First Nephi 7, where Nephi's brothers, they're in the wilderness outside of Jerusalem. They've brought Ishmael's family, and Nephi's brothers and some of Ishmael's family have rebelled. They've tied up Nephi's hands. So that's Nephi there in the background in the middle. And then one of the daughters of Ishmael and her mother and one of the sons of Ishmael are holding back Laman and Lemuel and another son of Ishmael who were ready to dispatch Nephi.
Wow.
And this isn't a scene that we see a lot in our church manuals today, but I think it's really powerful that as one of the very earliest Book of Mormon scenes, there's this very heavy emphasis on the role of women. This scene has sometimes been called the Peacemakers. It was the original painting looks a little different than this, that this lithograph was based on the original painting. The artist was George Ottinger that did the painting. He did that in 1890 for the Deseret Sunday School Union.
Wow.
and then they made this lithograph and distributed it to Sunday school teachers as kind of a large flip chart kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just going in church libraries, we have like this stash of old images that used to be definitely used for learning and part of class curricula. And
Hmm.
so that is fascinating that this is one of the earliest examples of stories we want people to know, and of that heroine as at the center. I mean,
Yeah.
ever talk about this figure
Hmm.
in discussing Book of Mormon narratives? Not that I know of.
It's true. Yeah. And this was part of a series of 12 images that were commissioned by the Deseret Sunday School Union. And this is one of the 12 that were part of this little chart. It was also published in the Juvenile Instructor in 1891. Uh,
Wow.
yeah. And this is the original painting and this lithograph are in the Church History Museum out in Salt Lake
Oh,
City.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So the artist, do you know much about? I mean, that's so early
Hmm.
that I wonder about did he emigrate, or was he, I
He
don't
was
know.
American. He trained at, he did some art training in Pennsylvania
Mm,
um, at, and I'm probably going to say it wrong, maybe the Philadelphia Academy of
hmm.
Art, Fine Arts Academy. I'm not sure
Sure.
exactly what something,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
was a prestigious academy at the time. As so he was definitely aware of both American and European classical styles. And definitely, like you said, drawing on those neoclassical sort of dramatic, illustrative
Mhm.
sort of scenes. Hmm.
Yes. Well, that just the way the posing of the bodies feels like that same sculptural style of like Jacques-Louis David or something.
For sure. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a great comparison. Yeah.
Oh, that is so fun. I've never seen anything like this.
Oh,
Thanks
good.
for bringing it. Okay, are you ready for your turn?
Okay, I'll try.
Let's do this.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, the more I look, the more I see. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so first thing I notice is a religious figure. On the left, I see he has a hat, maybe indicating his status as a religious leader, um, maybe a pope, or a priest. He's got robes and it got red. It looks like maybe kind of a wash, like an ink wash, rather than a real painting. So maybe like a line drawing and an ink wash. And then there's this fantastic demonic figure. He's kind of grotesque. His skin is greenish. He's got horns, traditional kind of symbolizing maybe a devil. It looks like he also has fins on his arms. Uh, and then something strange happening with his left hand finger. Like his pointer finger is like, I don't know. More faces on the lower half of him.
Yeah.
Again, the sort of grotesque style. Maybe like a blemish or a boil on one of the faces, and then
Mhm.
cloven hooves, which again, not a good sign. So,
Yes.
and then the religious figure is doing some kind of a gesture. Um, I feel like this kind of a gesture is often a prayer gesture. So I see that with his left hand, but then maybe he's doing some sort of command or um, blessing or something with the pointing finger. And it looks like they're outside. Um, I mean, this looks definitely medieval to me, like a manuscript illumination. Looks like it's on either paper or vellum. like an animal skin. They're in proportion to each other. The figures balance each other nicely. That's kind of interesting, right? That like you have like clearly like a good side and a bad side, and they're
Mhm.
kind of balanced. The religious figure looks like he's not concerned. He's got a little smile on his face, and even though this horrible thing is coming at him, he's like, "I got this."
Mhm. Oh, Jenny, you are
Yeah.
so good.
Oh, I don't.
I mean, yes, to so much. It is a manuscript illumination on vellum,
Okay.
and made in the year circa 1460. So later Gothic era. And it was a part of a larger manuscript written about the history of the Catholic popes.
Mm.
And this particular pope is a French pope named Sylvester II,
Hmm.
was through this oral tradition was thought to be what we call a necromancer, which is like a wizard.
Mhm.
And interestingly, he studied in his youth in throughout Europe, but particularly in Seville and Cordoba, which in that era was Islamic territory. And his interest, and he promoted this kind of a multi-ethnic reciprocity of knowledge, and interested in learning the biological sciences and earth sciences from the libraries found in Islamic libraries. And there's this kind of, in medieval literature, there's this kind of like gray zone between like science and the Bible, and then like the religious text from the Muslim world. And much of the classical literature that was preserved in Islamic libraries was destroyed by early Christians as a total turning away from that pagan culture.
Mhm.
But so that's why there was this interest from Sylvester to go to the Muslim world for this knowledge, but it was seen with great suspicion.
Wow.
And so he was thought to be one who used magic learned from these texts to summon the devil. And that's how he ultimately ascended to the papacy,
Wow. So that
according to legend.
so this is supposed to be like the devil, not just some
I
demonic
think,
spirit, or
I think so. I don't know. I don't know exactly who's assigned here, because in some reading they call him a demon, and they call another article I just looked at briefly called him Satan. And then another source labeled this as death. I'm
oh.
not sure. But I love that idea of using a blessing gesture as like all kinds of magical summoning, whether it be within the spiritual, appropriate realm of Christ, or through this like more magical. Anyway, and I think it's hard to appreciate like how magic really felt like a legitimate path for people in
For
this time.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, very different worldview.
Yeah. Yes.
Well,
And how science was seen. Like science was seen as just part of that magic umbrella, not like an actual magic umbrella, like magic as a
yeah.
area of study. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, this is so interesting. I've never seen anything quite like this. And um do you know how big it is?
Let's see if it has. Book I have is where I got this, and it's no, it doesn't really have scale at all. I don't know. Like I don't know. Yeah,
But it was in a manuscript
it
about
was in this
oops.
what was thought to be this historical collection of history, of the history of the popes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, fascinating. I was noticing too, just looking at it more, that um, I mean, like a little bit of similarities with the Book of Mormon lithograph in terms
Yeah,
of being like very like almost like a comic illustration, right? Where
yes.
there's not as much attention to the space, or like there's no modeling or depth to this piece.
Right.
I mean, the Book of Mormon lithograph obviously does that a little more,
Sure.
but a same maybe sort of impetus of like just needing to tell a story in a very easy to read visual way.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And you can imagine that this acted as absolute propaganda as far as the legacy of this pope. And yeah, if we can read this right, it just reconfirms that notion that we felt about this pope, and also about where he's getting his information, where he's getting his source of power. Um,
Oh,
so
yeah.
if we keep it simple, I think that's absolutely true.
Wow.
Anyway, it's
And
pretty
so
wild.
what is this little smirk he has on his face? Is it
I wonder if it's him thinking like, oh, this is working.
oh, like I did
I don't
it.
know.
I conjured this.
Yes, here we go. I don't
Oh,
know. But it is a definite, like, kind of funny expression
yeah.
that defies all the seriousness. I feel like we need the rest of the book to compare
Yeah.
to, but it defies the seriousness of a lot of um images of like church authorities for sure. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I love it. I mean, I love learning about this, and it's so fun to see the way a lot of medieval artists were so creative in their depictions of demons and devils, and
Right.
they just had a lot of fun with it.
They
And
sure did.
yeah,
I know. I mean, you can't really mess around with the good people, but when you get to the damned, it's like, let's go for it.
yeah, just see what you can come up with.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, Jenny, thank you so much. That was very fun. Thank you for introducing me to something new that I didn't know. And also, thanks for sharing how you look at new objects and make them meaningful. That's really helpful.
Thanks, Becca. This was really great. Thanks for inviting me